Good morning, Naaman Forest. Today is January 30th, and welcome to this edition of Naaman News. I'm Marcus Russell. I hope you all had a great weekend. I know we're all very excited for the Super Bowl weekend this Sunday. And actually, today we got Mr. Hampton with some very special guests talking it up and giving us their predictions and what they think about it. Here you go.
Good morning, Naaman Forest. Welcome to today's edition of Ranger Sports. With me today, I have Coach Sedbury, returning from last week, Coach Bland, returning from last week, and I have a new member of our program, Mr. Ragland, the band director, with us today. Today we're going to start out talking about or recapping the conference championships from last weekend. We had the Green Bay Packers against the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons won in blowout fashion. And we had the New England Patriots against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the New England Patriots won in blowout fashion. Of the three of us that were returning from last week, Coach Bland's actually the only one that predicted that the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons would face off in the Super Bowl. So he just might be the only one we need to listen to today, but I think the rest of us are going to try to chime in. So as we discuss or recap the events from last weekend, fellas, what do you take from that? What were the surprises of the game, disappointments, or your overall general feelings about the conference championships?
Well, I felt like the games, especially from the NFC perspective, went the way that they should have went, considering that Aaron Rodgers had to play with a really banged-up cast of people. He didn't have all of his weapons at full strength, and the defense secondary was a mess, so he didn't have everything working with him.
When I think about this playoffs in general, the one word that comes to my mind is disappointment. Most of the games outside of two games, the Cowboys against the Packers, and then the Steelers and the Chiefs, all the games have been blowouts and not really competitive. And I think there's many reasons to that he just alluded to, but, I was disappointed, wanted to see a good game. That did not happen.
I think I was a little bit surprised because I didn't expect Green Bay to lose in the fashion they did. Where we live, we don't get to see Atlanta play all the time, and that was the first time I got to see them play a complete game. And I probably had kind of listened to too many Cowboy fans talk about how good they are and how good the Cowboys were, so everybody was so shocked that Green Bay upset them. So I expected more out of Green Bay, but when in reality I realized how bad the Cowboys are and how bad Green Bay is. So, I was a little surprised from that.
Me personally, I am never surprised by anything Tom Brady and the New England Patriots do as far as winning and success is concerned. They've set up a pattern and a trend that they're going to be in it to the end pretty much every season. So nothing surprises me there. I was a little bit surprised by the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers were not very competitive and didn't make very many adjustments. As the game continued to roll along, it seemed like Tom Brady kept finding receivers wide open in the same locations repeatedly. And you would think that somebody on the Pittsburgh Steelers side would have decided to make some type of adjustments, but it just didn't happen. For surprises, I was very surprised that the Atlanta Falcons are as good as they are. They cover all facets of the game. They have great offense, great defense, and strong special teams. Defensively, some of those younger guys, they got, I believe, 3 rookies starting and 2 or 3 more are second-year players. Those are some young Thundercats. They bring the pain. Aaron Rodgers almost got his head took off several times, and that changed. That's how you slow down a hot quarterback. Aaron Rodgers was on fire, lighting everybody up. But if you paid attention to the games, he wasn't getting a lot of pressure put on him, and if he was just escaping the pocket easily because he's an athletic guy. But if you can get him from that blind side, it happened several times against Atlanta where he never saw the guy coming. It was like he got in a car accident. His head snapped back so bad. That's how you slow down a hot quarterback, and that's exactly what Atlanta Falcons did to win the game. Moving on to our next segment. Last week, fellas, we talked about the 4 quarterbacks that were in the conference championship games: Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, and Matt Ryan. And we all had the opportunity to pick who we would decide to start our team with if we had to choose one of those 4 quarterbacks. None of us chose Matt Ryan, who after this weekend went off for 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing. Did he do anything to change any of your minds?
Not at all. Tom Brady is the best quarterback by far. This man he's going to 7 Super Bowls. With that offense that Bill Belichick built, actually that whole system that he built, Tom Brady can pick apart all types of defenses, especially a zone like Pittsburgh was running, which is why they couldn't get out of the trouble they were in, because that offense is designed to pick apart those zones and find the holes. So I still got Tom Brady as number 1.
And, there's been a lot of quarterbacks throughout the years that have put together one special season. But, I think when you look at Matt Ryan's overall collection of work, there's some good stuff there. But this is the first season that he hasn't had double-digit interceptions in his career. And, it's been a special season, but you look at the other guys we were judging him against. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has a Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger has 2 Super Bowls. And, of course, Tom Brady with 4, So, it's one of those things you have to prove yourself, and those other guys have proved it consistently. And I think Matt Ryan's coming along nicely, but I still think we made the right choice.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that as well. Coach Bland hit it on the head. You know, you just don't know much about Matt Ryan, and consistency is what you look for. And, you know, Big Ben has been consistent, Aaron's been consistent, and then of course Tom Brady's been consistent. And so I think if Matt Ryan can produce another season like this next year, I think I actually read an article on ESPN today that says the Browns have a better chance of repeating or winning a Super Bowl before the Falcons win again or have a chance to go back. I thought that was kind of comical because nobody's, you know, giving them credit of being an established organization. Maybe this is just kind of a fluke season, you know, with them beating Green Bay the way they did in the fashion that they did.
You already know their offensive coordinator is going to be gone next year. He's going to be the head coach of the 49ers, so that'll change the dynamic as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Some of the things they mentioned, Matt Ryan, he hasn't done this historically speaking. This is a hot season. He's probably going to be the MVP of the NFL this season, and that's great. And obviously, he has a chance to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, if you can win MVP and Super Bowl in the same season, of course you can go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the game, really no matter what. Or at the very least, he had one of the hottest seasons of any quarterback.
Let me ask you this real quick. You're talking about that MVP. Do you not think that Brady should still be in the talk, even though he was suspended for the beginning of the season? Because if you put his numbers from where he picked up in the season against everybody else's and to where he still is and playing right now, why can he not be the MVP? Just because of the suspension?
I wouldn't say just because of the suspension that Brady can't be the MVP. I would say it's the Belichick, and Coach Bland touched on this last week, it's the Belichick-Brady factor. How much influence is coming from the coach of the New England Patriots and how much is coming from the quarterback? And if you're looking at the Atlanta Falcons, we can pretty much say, at least the season that Matt Ryan's had, he's had quite a bit of influence on the success of his team.
Well, one thing I will say about that, though, about Matt Ryan without being too hard on him, actually, Matt Ryan faces a lot of criticism the same way that Tony Romo faced criticism, because when you go back and you look at Matt Ryan's numbers, Matt Ryan's been producing a whole lot of numbers for a long time in his career since he's come in the league, I think in 2008, but because he's never got over the hump, he never gets that credit. Just like Tony Romo, he produces a lot of numbers. I'm not a Tony Romo fan, but he produces a lot of numbers, but he's never even got to the NFC Championship game. So that takes away some credibility from him.
Well, Naaman, that's all we have time for today. We thank you for watching. Please check us out next time again as we talk more about the Super Bowl coming up on Naaman News.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Again, thank you, Mr. Hampton, for all the sports updates that he always gives us. I'll see you guys next time.